Ahsoka episode 4 just aired on Disney Plus. If you remember last week, the episode climaxed where Ahsoka was able to find Morgan in her big hyperspace craft, but wound up getting shot down and landed on a planet that Morgan was orbiting. So that's where the story left off. Shorter episode last week. This week the episode of this week is longer. And so, if you were complaining about last week's episode, this one is longer. My thoughts before we go into the story, if you're watching this, should I watch this episode? Obviously, if you're into Star Wars and you saw the first three, why not? But my thoughts between, thumbs up, thumbs in the middle, thumbs down, I'm going to give this one a thumbs up. So, I'm recommending it. Obviously, with these types of shows, you kind of have to see them through. I'm probably going to change that system going forward after this review. I haven't really done it this way in previous reviews. So, yeah, I mean, keep watching it if you're into it. If not, hey, everyone's different. But I want to give my thoughts on what happened in this episode. So, we're going to go into that right now. They established at the very beginning that Ahsoka and Sabine are trapped. They can't leave the planet. It's been damaged, the ship has. They can't leave. And you know that the Dark Jedi are going to be on the hunt, as was teased in the previous, episode's finale or final moments. So they have to go find the ground base on that planet. Now, Ahsoka remarks that if they can't find Ezra, nobody else should, because finding Ezra could mean that it's going to bring about the return of Thrawn into the galaxy. Now, based on the way this show's being paced and based on sort of the foreshadowing here, I'm not sure if we're even going to see Ezra until the final two episodes. It seems like finding Ezra is going to be something that's going to be saved for near the end. And to be honest, it could end up even being a situation where it's going to get postponed until the Filoni movie or until they come back with a second season of Ahsoka. I genuinely think that the way it's being written in this pacing that we're not going to see Ezra for a while. It's not his story, but he seems to be kind of like taking the place of Luke Skywalker in Force Awakens. We have to find him, except the difference is that he's not the only hope like Luke was, but he is a friend. Is this the first episode of anything Star Wars that's ever had a droid versus droid hand-to-hand combat? I know that droid versus droid happened a little bit, obviously, in Clone Wars and things like that, because the droids were the enemies. But there's a hand-to-hand combat here in this episode with the droid. That was kind of wacky. Not saying it's bad, it was just wacky. So the villains are preparing to finally use the map to find Thrawn. They're already on their way there. And meanwhile, while that's going on, Hera is with the New Republic, and they actually show that one pilot from Mandalorian, the one that Mando even speaks to at the end of season 3. He's with her, so she's gonna straight up rebel and go against the orders that they gave her about taking this Thrawn thing seriously, and go do her thing and take a small fleet with her, and we see that here. In the meantime, Ahsoka and Sabine are heading through the forest, and they're confronted by Marek, which is that Inquisitor, and the Apprentice, which I think her name was Shin. She's kind of got the Scarlett Johansson thing going on. She has hair like her. It reminds me of like a younger version of her. So they square up, Sabine versus Shin, Ahsoka versus Marek. We have some lightsaber action mixed with some Mandalorian gunfire stuff, and this was all good, action-packed, awesome Jedi Star Wars stuff. We haven't seen stuff like this in a while since, I guess, the Obi-Wan show. This is a bit more, it's different in that you have a variety of different people here with different styles, and it worked. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I very much love the speed and quickness of the battle, both fights, both of the two different fights going on at once, and it really gave me those prequel vibes, which I loved, because prequels, whether you like them or hate them, moving that aside for a minute, the prequels do have the best lightsaber duels, and when it comes to just pure, just badass choreography, those are the ones that usually end up being memorable, and the sequel trilogy didn't even have choreography quite like this. That being said, I can safely tell you that this scene right here, to me, this scene was better than almost any lightsaber action in the sequel trilogy. Dave Filoni, man, if we can go back and reverse time, dude, Filoni should have just done the sequel trilogy his way. You know what I mean? It's a bummer. It's one of those missed opportunities because I think if they left him alone to do episode 7, 8, and 9, maybe he wasn't ready. Some could argue that. It's a different timeline, but that right there is the guy. That is the guy, man. And he's only getting better. Ahsoka straight up dusts this damn Inquisitor, yo. All these theories about him possibly being, Ezra, which I never believed, or maybe rebooted Starkiller because Sam Witwer's in the credits, and there's a lot of rumors. Nah, man, he's dead. So basically, who was he? He was just an Inquisitor, and to be honest with you, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with him just being an Inquisitor. I know a lot of folks want them to reboot Starkiller, and maybe they should. But if they're going to do that, Starkiller from the Force Unleashed games is way, way more than an Inquisitor. So if they're going to actually bring him into canon, they really need to build him up a bit better. But yeah, he's gone, bro. He got dusted. And Ahsoka, at this point, is going to continue on. So we have our confrontation and our duel between Baylan and Ahsoka. I did not expect to get this soon in the show. I know that the trailers showed a lot of stuff from the first 2 episodes as to not spoil the last half of the show, but I did not think we were going to get this duel, this fight, which was in the trailer. I was not expecting that at all to be on this early in the series. I really didn't. Kudos to Peter Ramsey for the directing here. I absolutely love how Baylan knows Anakin, and he knows that Anakin became Darth Vader. And he mentions that Anakin never mentioned her, or no, I'm sorry, that Anakin spoke highly of her. Ahsoka didn't know him. Anakin never spoke to Ahsoka about Baylan, but Baylan talked to Anakin, and Anakin knew. But it's almost implied, and I could be wrong, but it's implied that it was Vader that he talked to. That he had, by the time that Baylan had met Anakin, he was already Vader. But I'm not sure. But boy, did a lot happen here. So Ahsoka fights Baylan, as I mentioned, and Sabine shows up. Well, first, Shin shows up, and Ahsoka just knocks her out with the Force. Not for long, though. Then Sabine would show up, and then basically, as they're dueling, Baylan knocks over Ahsoka. He knocks her off this cliff, and then he tells Sabine, he's like, because she's supposed to destroy it. Ahsoka tells her to destroy the map because they haven't jumped to hyperspace yet. So she's going to, but then Baylan says, "I know you want to find your friend," and he makes a deal with her. He's like, "I will. You have my word that I'll help you find your friend." So again, Baylan's either trying to seduce her by lying to her, or he's actually not that evil, or at least not as evil as, he's a mixed character. You can tell he's not fully dark, because at one point when Shin wakes up, she's about to kill Sabine, but she doesn't. And that's because Baylan says, "I'm going to keep my word," unlike her master, unlike her former master. So what winds up happening is Sabine does indeed give up. I don't know how the hell Baylan knows everything about Ezra. Maybe he read her mind or something. I don't know. But he knows all about Ezra and what she wants. And that's what I'm guessing happened. And essentially what happens is, right as all this is going on, the New Republic shows up with Hera. And they're about to stop the hyperspace ship from jumping. But once Sabine, gives the map back to Baylan. Baylan finishes, the coordinates finish uploading to the ship, and the ship, before the ship jumps to hyperspace, Baylan destroys the map to make sure nobody follows them. That was cool. That was very smart. But the episode basically ends with them jumping into hyperspace. So they did jump into hyperspace. They did make it. The villains actually escaped to go to where Thrawn is. And Sabine is with them. So this is one hell of an episode and one hell of a big cliffhanger, because now Sabine is with the enemy. They're going to go see Thrawn and maybe Ezra, because you have to remember, in Rebels, they disappeared together. They were together when they disappeared. And Ahsoka and Hera are still behind in this galaxy, left to figure out what the heck to do. But the big cliffhanger, the big one is at the very end of the episode, she wakes up and she's in what appears to be a vortex. I think that's the world between worlds. It looks like she may actually be in the world between worlds. She hears Anakin's voice. She turns around, and there is Anakin Skywalker. Very similar to how he looked in episode 3. And that's the cliffhanger going into episode 5. Definitely the best episode of the show so far. It's got me very intrigued as far as where the story's going. Because, damn it, Sabine, why'd you have to do that? You freaking she's going to let everybody down now. But where is this going to go, dude? Hype, hype, hype. I can't wait till next week, man. This show has got me hooked, and I'm happy to hear it. What do you think? What do you think, man? Let me know down below about episode 4 of Ahsoka, The Fallen Jedi. That's what it's called. I thought that word Fallen Jedi was mostly about Balin, but no, it might be about Anakin too. In a different meaning, of course. Take care, y'all. See you next week.